Introduction. The sanity of insanity. Madness is not what you think. Madness is not losing touch with reality. It is reality shaking you free from the lie of control. Alan Watts once said, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at itself." And what could be stranger, more insane, than the idea that the vast cosmos is playing at being you? If you truly feel this, if you let it seep into your bones, the world as you know it begins to shimmer and crack. Suddenly, normal sanity looks absurd. People marching around, clutching their calendars, their titles, their neat little stories of who they are. All of it built on sand. All of it trembling beneath the weight of time. And yet we cling. We cling to reason, to logic, to control. We say, "This is me, this is my plan, this is my life." But Alan Watts, with a mischievous smile and a glint in his eye, would whisper, "Are you sure?" He was not a man of rigid systems. He was not a preacher with commandments carved in stone. He was a bridge, a strange, beautiful bridge between East and West, between Zen and science, between laughter and wisdom. He challenged the Western obsession with control, with success, with a straitjacket of reason. He invited us into a deeper freedom, one that feels terrifying at first, a freedom that looks like madness. And yet, this is the kind of madness that liberates. Think of the lovers who risk everything for each other. Think of the artist who abandons a safe path to follow a vision. Think of the monk who walks away from comfort into silence. The world often calls them insane. But what saw them as profoundly sane? Because what could be more sane than living fully without guarantees, without the suffocating weight of false certainty? This is what he meant by divine madness. Not the chaos of a broken mind, but the sanity of a soul that finally surrenders. Madness that is not destruction, but liberation. Madness that reveals love, surrender, and trust as the true foundations of existence. Today, we need this wisdom more than ever. In a world obsessed with productivity, with appearances, with endless anxiety about the future, Watts' voice still cuts through the noise. He reminds us that the self we cling to is an illusion, that life cannot be controlled, and that freedom is found not in grasping, but in letting go. And so, in the chapters to come, we will walk with him. We will explore the illusions that keep us trapped, the wisdom of insecurity, the trick of the ego, the ecstasy of play. We will peer into the paradox where madness meets clarity, where surrender becomes strength, where the very things we fear, chaos, uncertainty, loss, reveal themselves as doorways to love. This journey is not for the faint of heart. It will not hand you easy answers. But if you listen, if you let the words breathe inside you, something will shift. The walls of false sanity will tremble. A new kind of clarity will emerge, wild, playful, fearless. For this is the great irony. To find sanity, you must be willing to go mad. To find love, you must be willing to surrender. To find life, you must be willing to stop controlling and start dancing. And so, let us begin. 1. The madness of control. Why our desperate attempt to command life is the greatest insanity of all, and how freedom begins when we let go. 2. The wisdom of insecurity. How uncertainty is not a flaw in existence, but its very heartbeat, and how surrender brings peace where control breeds fear. 3. Ego, the beautiful illusion, unmasking the trickster within, the false self that imprisons us, and discovering the vastness of who we really are. 4. The dance of love and surrender. Why love is inseparable from letting go, and how divine madness is the courage to dissolve into something greater than yourself. 5. The sanity of insanity. How laughter, paradox, and play reveal truths reason alone can never reach, and why what looks insane to society may be the truest form of wisdom. 6. Life as divine play. Rediscovering existence as art, music, and dance, remembering that the point of living is not to arrive, but to celebrate the mystery. Expansion, Keynote 1, The Madness of Control, 900 words. We live in a world addicted to control. From the moment we wake, we check the clock, the calendar, the phone. We make lists, we plan, we strategize, we calculate. We are told to take charge of our destiny, to be in control of our lives. And yet, if we look honestly, how much of life truly bends to our will? Alan Watts loved to expose this irony. He pointed out that the more we cling, the more we suffer. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Control, he said, is the greatest madness of all, because it's a fight against the very nature of reality. Look at the world around you. Rivers do not march in straight lines. They curve and meander. Clouds do not move on schedules. They drift and scatter. Even your own breath comes and goes without conscious effort. Life, in its essence, is flow. Yet we insist on damming the rivers, boxing the clouds, and disciplining the breath. We call this sanity. What's would laugh and say, "How curious!" That which is most natural, we fear the most. Consider how often anxiety comes from this need for control. We worry about the future because we want to match our plans. We dwell on the past because we want to have been different. And in doing so, we miss the only place life actually happens, here now. What's often said, the future is a concept. It doesn't exist. Tomorrow never comes. And yet we sacrifice today, the living moment, to chase after an illusion of security. This is a madness, not the chaos of life, but our refusal to trust it, not the unpredictability of existence, but our demand that it conform to our ego's story. And yet, there's another way. What's invited us to consider surrender? Not surrender as defeat, but surrender as harmony. The way a surfer surrenders to the wave, not by controlling the ocean, but by flowing with its energy. The way a dancer surrenders to music, not by forcing the rhythm, but by becoming one with it. True freedom, he said, comes not from control, but from trust. When you stop clinging, you discover something extraordinary. Life supports you. Like a child learning to float, you realize the water holds you up, if only you stop thrashing. But society fears this. Society calls it irresponsible, lazy, even insane. Yet what's would flip the lens? Is it not insane to exhaust yourself fighting what cannot be fought? To spend your one short life clinging to illusions of control? The madness is not in letting go. The madness is in thinking you can hold on forever. So the invitation is simple, though not easy. Experiment with surrender. The next time life does not go your way, instead of tightening your grip, soften it. The next time anxiety floods you, remember the water in hand's image. Loosen, trust, allow. See what happens when you let life breathe. What's compared it to laughter? You cannot force laughter. It comes when you let it. Try to laugh on command, and you produce only a hollow sound. But when you let go, laughter erupts naturally, wildly, contagiously. Life is like this. Its beauty emerges not from control, but from trust, spontaneity, and play. And so we arrive at a paradox. Sanity lies in embracing the madness of surrender. Control is insanity that exhausts us. Letting go is a divine madness that sets us free. As Watts would grin and remind us, to have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and float. This floating, this surrender, is the beginning of wisdom. Keynote 2, the wisdom of insecurity. We spend our lives chasing after security. A secure job, a secure relationship, a secure future. From childhood, we are taught that safety is the highest prize. Build walls, make plans, insure against risk. And yet, beneath all the effort, an uncomfortable truth lingers. Nothing is ever truly secure. The job can vanish. The relationship can dissolve. The body can fail. The future, no matter how carefully planned, arrives in ways we never expected. This reality terrifies us. And so we double down, working harder, clinging tighter, layering ourselves with strategies of control. But Alan Watts, with that half smile of his, would lean in and whisper, what if your fear of insecurity is the real problem? What if insecurity is not a flaw in life, but its very nature? He called it the wisdom of insecurity. At first, the phrase feels absurd. How could insecurity be wisdom? Isn't insecurity what makes us anxious, lost, fragile? But what's turned the idea upside down? He explained that life is always changing, always moving, always flowing. To seek permanence in a river is to suffer. To seek security in an impermanent world is to bang your head against reality. The insecurity is not the enemy. It is the truth. Look closely. The seasons shift, the tides rise and fall. The very cells in your body are dying and being reborn every moment. To live is to change. To be secure, in the absolute sense, would mean to be frozen, static, unchanging. But that is not life, that is death. So when we cling to security, we are clinging to a kind of death. We are trying to stop the dance. And this is why we suffer. What's would often remind us that our attempt to control are like trying to hold on to smoke. The harder you grasp, the faster it slips through your fingers. But when you let the smoke rise, it becomes beautiful, mysterious, alive. In the same way, when you stop resisting insecurity, you discover something shocking, freedom. Because in insecurity, there is possibility. In uncertainty, there is life. Think of falling in love. There is no guarantee the other will stay. No insurance against heartbreak. And yet, it is a very uncertainty that makes love alive, tender, precious. If love were guaranteed, permanent, risk-free, would it not lose its fire? Love burns because it is fragile. Or think of creativity. The artist does not know what the painting will become. The writer does not know where the story will end. The musician follows notes that surprise even themselves. The insecurity is not an obstacle. It is a spark. Watts argued that true peace comes not from eliminating insecurity, but from embracing it. He compared it to learning to swim. At first, the water feels threatening. You thrash, you panic, you try to control it. But the moment you trust the insecurity, the moment you surrender, you float. The same is true of life. The water was never the enemy. Your fear of it was. And so, the wisdom of insecurity is not about giving up. It is about seeing clearly. It is about realizing that to be alive is to be vulnerable, to be exposed, to be uncertain, and that this very uncertainty is what makes life meaningful. Watts once said, "Faith is an unreserved opening of the mind to the truth, whatever it may turn out to be." Faith, in his sense, is not believing without evidence. It is trusting the flow of life without demanding guarantees. It is walking into the unknown with open eyes. This is why divine madness looks like insanity to the world. Who, after all, would willingly embrace insecurity? Who would celebrate uncertainty? Only the ones who have glimpsed its secret, that security is an illusion, and insecurity is freedom. And so the invitation is this. Stop postponing your life until you feel safe. Stop waiting for perfect conditions, for everything to be under control. They will never arrive. Life is now. The river flows now. The dance is happening now. To cling is madness, but to trust the insecurity, to laugh, to love, to risk without guarantees, that is sanity. That is freedom. And in this realization, we begin to see how insecurity and ego are intertwined. For it is the ego that craves certainty, the ego that fears dissolution, the ego that demands life play by its rules. Which is why, to truly embrace insecurity, we must turn next to the greatest trickster of all, the ego itself. We spend so much of our lives defending something that doesn't even exist. We build our walls, polish our masks, tell ourselves stories about who we are. I am this kind of person. I have this role. I must succeed. I must control. I must endure. And yet, beneath all these layers, what is the I we are protecting? Alan Watts delighted in unraveling this mystery. He would look an audience, light his pipe, pause, and then drop the paradox like a stone into still water. The ego is nothing more than a social convention, a hallucination we all agreed to believe. The ego, he explained, is a story, a convenient label that helps us navigate the world. Your name, your job, your history, your opinions. These are useful tools, like the labels on a jar. But the label is not the contents. The word fire is not fire. The menu is not the meal. The tragedy begins when we mistake the label for the living reality, when we begin to think we are the ego rather than life itself in disguise. Look closely. Where is the boundary between you and the universe? The skin? But the skin breathes, exchanges oxygen, absorbs sunlight. The lungs trade with the air, the stomach with the earth. Every cell in your body is built from food, water, and starlight. Without the outside, there is no inside. The I cannot exist apart from everything else. The ego, then, is like a mirage on the desert road, convincing, shimmering, but insubstantial once you arrive. And yet, we cling to it, defend it, even kill for it. We are terrified of its death, though it was never truly alive. But here lies the paradox Alan Watts loved most. Though the ego is an illusion, it is not worthless. It is a beautiful illusion, like the mask in a theater or the costume in a play. It gives shape to the performance. Without it, the dance would have no character, no story. Watts would say, "The problem is not that we wear masks. The problem is that we forget we are wearing them. And oh, how deeply we forget. We compare our masks to others. We polish them with wealth, fame, and recognition. We defend them against every insult, every wound. We mistake every crack in the mask for a crack in the soul. And all the while, life waits patiently, smiling, for us to notice that the mask was never who we truly were. Imagine a child playing make-believe, pretending to be a dragon. The joy is in the game. But if the child forgets it as a game, if she begins to truly believe she is a dragon, terror sets in. The wings don't work. The fire won't breathe. The world won't bow. She suffers not because of the play, but because she mistook the play for reality. We do the same with the ego. We suffer not because we play roles, but because we forget their roles. What's urged us to laugh at the ego? To see through its tricks with humor rather than hatred. For to hate the ego is still to be caught by it. The way out is play. The way out is remembering. In Zen, there's a saying, "Be nobody going nowhere." It sounds absurd in a world obsessed with identity and goals. And yet, there's a liberation in it. To be nobody is to be free from the prison of self-image. To go nowhere is to be free from the tyranny of destinations. Suddenly, life is not about proving, defending, or arriving. It is about dancing. Consider this. Every laugh you've ever had, every moment you've been lost in music, every instant of awe before sunset, where was the ego then? Gone, dissolved. And yet, in those moments, were you not more alive than ever? That is the secret. The ego vanishes in moments of real living. And when it returns, we can wear it lightly, like a mask at a masquerade, knowing it is only part of play. Watts did not suggest we destroy the ego. He suggested we stop worshiping it. He invited us to hold it like a child holds a soap bubble, delighted in its colors, amused by fragility, unafraid of its inevitable pop. For when the bubble bursts, what remains? Not nothing, but everything. The player behind the mask, the dancer behind the role, the universe behind the illusion. And so the ego, seen rightly, becomes not a prison but a playground, an act in the cosmic theater. A mask we wear not with fear, but with joy. And once we see this, once we taste the freedom of laughing at our own masks, we are ready to embrace the deeper metaphor Alan Watts cherished most, that life is not a problem to be solved, but a dance to be danced. And so we return full circle to the paradox Alan Watts lived and laughed into the world, that true sanity is found not in control, but in surrender, not in clinging to certainty, but in falling gracefully into the uncertainty that is life itself. We began with the whispered divine madness, the bold, almost reckless invitation to love without guarantees, to trust without conditions, to live as though the very ground beneath your feet were dancing. And now, having walked through the illusions of control, the wisdom of insecurity, and the playful trick of the ego, perhaps the madness no longer feels so mad. Perhaps it feels like the first breath of freedom. Think of a river. If you stand rigid against its current, you will exhaust yourself. But if you learn to float, the water carries you effortlessly. Life is that river. The current does not ask your permission, nor does it wait for your approval. It flows. To resist it is suffering. To surrender to it is peace. Watts reminded us, again and again, that you are not separate from this river. You are not a stranger tossed into a hostile world. You are the river itself, bending, shimmering, flowing in human form. And once you see this, the terror of insecurity, the burden of ego, the madness of letting go, all dissolve into something luminous. Divine madness, then, is not chaos. It is clarity. It is the sanity that comes when you stop trying to be anything other than life itself, in its full, unpredictable play. So what remains? This: to live as though everything is already all right, to laugh at the masks, to dance with insecurity, to surrender to love, to see, with childlike wonder, that you are not a passenger in this universe. You are the universe, pretending to be a passenger. And so, I leave you with Alan Watts' echo, resonating like the final note of a symphony. You are not a stranger here. You are not something that came into this world. You are something the whole world is doing, just as the wave is what the ocean is doing. So, dance, laugh, trust the madness. For in this very moment, the universe is playing at being you,